Hello! Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bhairavi Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess. So, just a quick heads up, as I'm actually doing this video on request because I wasn't planning on doing one today, and someone asked me to, and I kind of went, actually, not a bad idea. The past couple of days have been pretty intense, as I mentioned to you in my May 2020 video. I suggested that you bookmark that video and revisit it anytime you wanted guidance, and I reiterate that. There's just a lot changing in these first 2 months of May. In fact, today alone, we see the start of Venus stationing retrograde in other words, when it stations retrograde, it means it begins its retrograde in Gemini. And on the same day we're seeing today, Mars entering the sign of Pisces. So this is a big shift in the mutable signs. Now, the mutable signs are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, and they're all about adaptability and they're all about change and transformation. So when shifts happen in these signs, what happens is that we then get an ability to look at the way we are navigating and how we are negotiating that navigation in our lives. So with Venus entering, or rather Venus beginning its retrograde in Gemini, what we're going to see over the next few weeks is an increased need of us to be actually cautious about our relationships, our finances, our connections with people in the world, and the thoughts that we have about all of this. Now, yes, everyone tells you to be mindful, to be discerning, to be grounded in spirituality, and I certainly do the same because they are the key aspects of any spiritual practice that is useful, and at least in my opinion. But you need to be even more mindful now. We all need to be. We need to think about the way our mind interprets information, how quick we are to judge, how quick we are to make decisions, how quick we are to put our own narratives on things. And when it's Venus retrograde, it becomes very, very, very tempting to put all narratives onto all relationships, all business and financial connections that really do not serve anymore. So this is where I would say all of us need to be a lot more mindful as to how are we choosing to live and embody the value system that we have come here to actually refine in this material reality. How do we embody that value system through our relationships, through our connections with others? How do we do so in a way that is integral to our core moral compass? So this is where those thoughts need to be. Because when it comes to Gemini, Gemini is all about that freedom of exploration. It's not about fixing or holding things in. It's about having that freedom to look this way and that way and up and down and sides. And whilst that can be fun when you're trying to make really, really big decisions in a year that is nothing but binding in many ways, it's not the best combination. So if you are exploring a new relationship or a new business venture, and I'm telling the same to my clients, make this an experimental phase. Don't commit to anything yet just because you do not want to make a commitment on the basis of Gemini energy. The wind sails might, or rather the sails of the ship might just blow in the opposite direction the moment you think the deal is done, especially during the retrograde period. Use the next couple of weeks to take the time, refine, really look at your motivations for entering into things. Are they coming from a space of perception that needs to be clarified? Are you actually being triggered by old childhood wounds? Is there something that you need to communicate to the people around you or to people who were present in your childhood? This is where you actually need to do the work first before you try to make other things happen in the world around you. Now, at the same time as this Venus retrograde has begun today, we've also seen Mars entering Pisces. The Mars in Pisces, like I said, is another mutable sign. And Piscean energy is even more fluid. If you think Gemini is fluid and moving all over the place, Pisces is even more. It's an energy that shapeshifts all over the place. There is no form to Pisces. So with Mars in Pisces, it actually gives us the opportunity to use all of that energy to learn how to navigate our inner worlds better. During the duration of the Mars in Pisces transit, we want to really be looking at just how we can better apply ourselves to our spiritual paths and journeys. And I just looked up the dates for everything, and whoosh, it's out of my head right now, which is very characteristic of Pisces as well. But I'll see if I can write a brief note to update you because I don't want to be saying dates that I half remember. Literally just look this up. So As the Mars in Pisces transit continues, what you want to look at again is practices that bring you back. You've got to go back to the body, you've got to go back in the here and now, and you've got to realize that whatever those transcendental experiences you're looking for, whatever those strange dreams you have, they are things that could have happened in other times, other spaces, other lives. But whatever is coming up right now is not so you recreate the past, it is to realize how that experience informs the present. So it's very important with this Venus Gemini, Mars Pisces energy that you don't go floating off somewhere. Discernment at the mental level, clarification at the mental level, and physical grounding are going to be your saving grace if you let them. Remember, Pisces is an energy that can lead you to transcendental truth, but it can also bog you down into glamour. So many people want to go for the truth that looks glittery and wonderful and lofty and glowing, and very few people actually would rather dig through the muck to find the clear stream of spirit or the clear water that runs beneath. And that's really the work we need to be doing, to go further inwards, to go deeper, to be willing to find that pure source of clarity within by cleaning out what is in our bodies, what is in our energy bodies that blocks us from spirit that is already there to begin with. So, really, in short, the answer, as always, even more so now, is inward. Now, someone is asking me about meditation today, and it's I don't want you guys to take it the wrong way, but I learn so much from my clients. Sometimes they ask me questions that I would have never thought about. Sometimes they show me behaviors that I would never accept. Sometimes they just make put my focus on things that, I mean, I'm a human being. I'm doing my own process. I'm trying to get my own stuff done, but they always bring me back to the collective. So when I'm talking about anyone, it's never a judgment. This is the expression of the collective that I'm seeing right now. And one of my clients was asking me today about meditation. And this is what I told her. I said, look, meditation can happen in any way. You don't need to be, sitting under a tree somewhere. You don't need to be forcing yourself into silence. Some people laugh, they do laughing yoga. Some people do dancing meditation. To be honest, I hardly meditate in the sense that I don't sit there and listen to the universe because I'm always listening. I could be in a deep state of communion and I'm doing the dishes. For me, that can be meditation. I can be literally playing a computer game and feel a deeper part of me going deeper and deeper and deeper into stillness. It's just something I've always been able to do. It's just, for me, meditation is life. Every moment is a meditation. So it doesn't have to be a distinct activity that you sit there and you put the candle and the incense and the cool looking Sanskrit yet rug or whatever. It doesn't need to be anything like that. It is as natural as life. That is what meditation is. It is simply that realization that something deeper inside of you is watching all that you do, and that is an aspect of you which, if you pull yourself deeper into, you come closer to that relationship with source. That's it. You don't need anything beyond that. Like for sometimes when people think about meditation, they always think about being calm and cool and detached. Even in a moment of passion, even fury, if it is coming from a deep and pure place, that is a point to spiritual purity. That is a point to spiritual clarity. So you don't need to put it in the box. Whatever your spiritual path is, especially with this Mars in Pisces period, do whatever takes you back to that place. That's it. Keep it very simple. A lot of people want to complicate spirituality. Keep it very, very, very simple. Just bring it back to self. Now there are other things happening. Day after, tomorrow, I believe. Yes, tomorrow, I believe. We are seeing Jupiter stationing retrograde in Capricorn. And this energy is going to bring another layer of density to what we do. This is where we really need to look at the teachers. We really need to look at the paths that we choose. We really need to look at the wisdom base that helps us really find our way forward. This is the kind of energy which is all about us, again, turning inwards to look at the teacher within, to look at the knowledge that we already have and the people around us who can bring that back. Now, what I find with all of these retrogrades in Capricorn is that the big thing for me, the big reminder for me, is that all of this is a lesson in humility. I always go to my teachers. I mean, when I'm doing my facilitating work, I'm not going to be like, "Oh my God, this just happened today. What on earth am I going to do?" You know, that as a human being, um, as part of my own journey, as part of my own process, I'd be talking to my teachers. And as a student, you drop all of those masks. I was telling this to another teacher whose course I attended once. I said, look, it doesn't matter who I am or who I'm not. When I'm sitting in someone else's classroom, you drop all of that and you just go straight into that space of openness and humility, and try to use this time period, generally speaking, in a nutshell, between now till the first week of August, because that's that's when we leave. And you want to basically use this energy to be a student. Don't be too attached to your ideas. Whether don't and at the same time, don't be too attached to anyone else's ideas either. Use the scientific method. Test it. If you find something, try it. Make sure that whatever you're doing doesn't have a long-term consequence one way or another. Experiment, and if it doesn't work, change your approach. This isn't a time to be too sure about things, and that's where a lot of people lose their way on spirituality. They're very invested in having the answers. That's probably one of the reasons why my clients seem to like me, because I don't claim to know, this is why. This is the grand reason why you are what you are. No, every case is unique. Every person is unique. Every soul is unique. You cannot assume. You absolutely cannot assume. You cannot make a priori assumption that someone behaves in a certain way or someone presents their case exactly as they are. You always have to be a student, even when you are a teacher. And that's really the kind of energy and vibration which, in addition to the message to go inwards, will also be a useful reminder. The moment you think you know, take a step back and look at it again. Anyone who is worth their salt in this field will tell you the same thing, because none of this knowledge is fixed. That is why every age has its own spiritual teachers. Every age has its own understanding. And right now, a lot of us are still unlearning what we have been imbibing as a collective for thousands of years. Which brings me to another interesting question that my other client asked today. And she asked me, what is service in the Aquarian age? Today's clients have been very insightful in their questions. What is service in the Aquarian age, and how does it differ how does it differ from the age of Pisces? And I said something cool. What the hell did I say? I said something along the lines of, it just came out, it just came out from somewhere deep inside. I just kind of went, look, when you are helping someone, not because you believe you're going to be martyred for it or you get any glory for it, you have no expectation. When you're helping someone just because you're helping that person, and you are helping them in a way that doesn't make you a battery, that doesn't take away from your essential personal resources, you're already shifting into that collective Aquarian vibration. The age of Pisces was very, very content to drop the priestess into the roaring volcano to calm the land down. Whereas what's going on in this age is no longer that vibration of sacrifice. And that's what is so difficult for a lot of people to let go of. Because so many of us, and this of course relates to our discussion more so on Mars in Pisces, many of us build our spiritual identities surrounding our woundedness, our sense of sacrifice, and it kind of gets enmeshed with the idea of what is service and what is martyrdom and what is glorious and what is holy. And when we construct our identities in those ways, it becomes very hard for us to heal, because healing then becomes a loss of that identity. And you've heard me talk about this teacher a couple of times. For those who want more insight on that concept, please look up Carolyn Miss's book. That's MYSS, Carolyn Miss, Why People Don't Heal and How They Can. There's a concept in it called woundology that will help all of you. Now, I don't mind telling you what my vulnerabilities are. I think most of you have probably guessed it. In the sense, well, not all of them, but certainly what's coming up for me, this Venus and Gemini transit, it's certainly over compassion. It's overly being, wanting to help. And I've done this my entire life. whether it's people from my childhood, from growing up, from people at work. I just found that the more sympathy I had for people who wanted to see me as a battery, the more I ended up giving, and the less I ended up actually having. And it becomes so difficult these days for someone to say, I want to have something, because we're so conditioned to think that anyone who has something is somehow a fat cat capitalist. That's not true. Most of the people defending capitalism do not own the means of capital. They're just middle class people who are under class delusions. But yeah, it's like the moment someone says, I want something for myself, we're conditioned to say, but no, you have to give it away. That's the spiritual part. That's this and that's that. That's what the great masters did. But what they don't remember is that the great masters didn't have a mortgage or, college payments and so on and so forth. So this is the kind of energy that you've got to bring into the present day. There's a lot of us working on what in those times would have been considered master level. And now it's more like apprentice level in the current age. There's a lot of people working at that frequency, and they need to have their basics covered. When you deny yourself having your foundation, whether it's your bills paid, whether it's food in your belly and in your kids' bellies, whether they're four-legged or two-legged, um, when you deny that, you actually create a kind of spiritual connection that perpetuates that vibration of scarcity. And moving away from that collective wound is going to be one of the biggest challenges for people, especially spiritualists who identify with that narrative of having nothing is the most greatest service in the world. I don't see why that needs to be a teaching. You can't give anyone anything if you have nothing to give from. And the more you get drained, the harder it becomes to actually exercise and employ energetic discernment. And really, again, this is one of those very powerful collective myths that that is disappearing, that is dissolving as people are coming to this realization themselves. I'm not the only person in the world saying all of this stuff. You guys just like the way I say it. But, well, I hope you do. But these are things that anyone who is, who has walked a certain path for a while would come naturally to the same conclusion. I'm just here to remind you of that. It seems to be what I do. And that seems to be helpful, so I'm grateful for that. But yeah, especially with what's happening in the skies right now, we're also going to be seeing Venus conjunct Vesta coming real soon. I think that's also tomorrow. Gemini energy is also hitting me. I've got all the dates. I read all of it and then just flew straight ahead. But basically, over the next 3 days, we're going to be having we already had Venus retrograde starting in Gemini. We've already got Mars entering Pisces. We're going to be seeing Jupiter stationing retrograde. Tomorrow, we are also going to be seeing Mars in Pisces, trine the North Node in Cancer. And then the day after that, there we go, the day after that, we're going to be seeing Venus retrograde conjunct Vesta, the priestess. Well, I said it as a flow, and then I remembered it. So, as this is happening with the Venus Vesta conjunction, this is a day where everyone who is in alignment with some idea of service needs to be careful. Whether it's in the name of making money, whether it's in the name of securing a relationship, whether it's in the name of healing, whatever the rhetoric, whatever the justification is, you've got to look at the contracts that are trying to hook you onto a particular path. And this is going to be one of the most important times for people who are either spiritual facilitators or people seeking the service of facilitators. Remember, a facilitator who is doing their job well is never going to take you away from your innermost voice. Maybe you're in a place where you can't even recognize what that voice is. But this is where the work needs to happen. You need to come back to, you need to actually find whether it's a path of service, a path of commitment of any kind that comes back to your inner voice, not in a solipsistic way. Because ultimately, all teachers, all paths that are aligned with love will come to the same conclusion. People just take different, take different routes to it. That's all it is. Everyone is just taking a different route. There's no real plus or minus. Even the people who are not aligned with the principle of compassion will ideally ultimately find their way. It just takes a little longer. At the very least, that's what I think. But maybe I'm an optimist. Maybe. But effectively, you need to be looking at what is trying to hook you. Whether it's through pretty words, whether it's through pretty ideas, be very, very careful and keep your eyes and your ears open. And sometimes it's going to sound like the most, either something that really demands your attention, or something that really demands your sympathy, or something that really seems like, you have to fix this, you have to save me, you're the great hero. Any of those hooks can come up, and none of them will actually be in alignment if you actually follow that. Whatever you choose to do, go at it from a place of detachment, and go at it from a place of observation. If you have to do something, remember that this is a phase of experimentation, not commitment. One thing I also want to add in terms of health, with Mars entering Pisces and Venus retrograde already in Gemini and doing its thing with Vesta, I want all of you to look a little bit more closely at your respiratory systems. If you can, maybe try colloidal silver. But what we are being guided to do is we're kind of fumigating the house by burning some aromatic herbs that are local to our area, and that seems to also be purifying the air and the vibration of the space around us. So use what is local in your area and purify the air that way. Be mindful of people with respiratory conditions, or pets and so on, because their lungs are a lot more delicate and sensitive. Purify the air if you can. Diffuse, an essential oil. Use a company that is mindful of the earth, and again, think of the animals and the people around you. Some oils are strongly contraindicated for some health conditions or pregnancy or animals. So do look that up. That's not said enough. Purify the air around you. Let yourself do a lot more breathing exercises, a lot more breath work, yogic pranayama, yogic breathing, whatever you want to call it. Do it in spaces where the air is cleaner. So this is the kind of energy that I would recommend you focusing on over the next few weeks. What I intuitively feel, and I've been saying this for a while. Unfortunately, what we are collectively facing right now is, we are just coming to the end of round one. Wave two is already beginning up in certain countries. And this is why we need to keep the air in our bodies, the element of air in our bodies, the element of air around us, as clean as we can. So this is why I ask you to focus on this. Please also remember that whilst I would not use the law of attraction to explain everything in the universe, because the universe is not something that there is no one law that covers everything. We do attract things to us, some people more than others. So if you are in a vibration of fear, if you are in a vibration where you feel like something bad's going to happen to you, or something terrible is going to come along, you are going to manifest that very, very strongly, especially with the Mars in Pisces energy going on alongside Venus retrograde in Gemini. And so you must keep your thoughts clean. I don't mean to say, deny anything that's painful. I don't mean to say, pretend that it's not there. Process it. Whatever comes up that you are afraid of, process it. Positive affirmations do absolutely nothing when your subconscious is already freaking out. So, but then again, going and making yourself freak out even more also does not help. Whatever you are facing, process it. That's the best way that you can go forwards, especially when you encounter a blockage or an obstacle or a wall of fear. Remember that things are not what they look like right now. And there is way too much shifting collectively for anyone to be able to give us a definitive answer. So you need to remember the lessons of the mutable signs. Stay flexible. Question what you know and what you think you know, and be open to learning what you don't know, and maybe even things that you didn't even know you didn't know. Remember that teachers will come and go, and you need to understand that they too are on an experience and a journey. The last thing I want to caution you about is something which I have seen a few too many times in my my career. There's a lot of people who want help in the world, which is fine. And there are also people who will want you to help them at the cost of your energy and sanity. We're talking beyond the business side of things. We're talking about almost trying to drag you down with their karma. In the name of compassion, do not do that. Because the moment you try to carry another person's burden for them, as noble as your intentions are, you get sucked in. And some people are a little bit more malevolent than others in trying to get you to do that, or perhaps even more manipulative, sometimes even both. But what I want you to remember is, it's like, if you think about it, if this is a journey where we're all walking up the mountain together, everyone's got their stuff. And that builds muscles in the body. It makes us focus, it teaches us in how to get up there. Sometimes we need help, sometimes we need a crutch. But when someone is constantly asking you to carry their stuff for them, they are not developing in the way that they need to. Remember, there is always a line between help that truly helps and help that perpetuates codependent dynamics. So that is something that, for all of you bleeding hearts out there, all of you empaths out there, you need to remember this. In the name of help, do not commit karmic injustice against yourself and against the people putting you in that situation. As uncomfortable as it is, no, or I can't do this for you, may actually be a far, far cleaner answer for all parties concerned. You might hurt that person's feelings, but you might maybe not save their soul, but at the very least prevent them from going into an even darker pit. Let's just put it that way. So, having said all of that, let's look at who's here. And okay, just shouting out hi to Mrs. AJ and Black, Mad Titan, I love that name. Kevin Bourne, Soul Whisperer, Black Cherry, Mrs. AJ, MS Love in Life, VB, Stan Jones, Linda Fern, Alluring Goddess, Miss Victoria, Faith E, Ray Joy, Yessie V, Wild Lovely One. She's the reason I did this live today. Dreamwise, hello. Sunchild, Hanane, Prerna, Jack, Stardust, Miss Royal, Osset, Lady Owl, Prime Harmonic, Aravina Joy, Sky Blue, Anne, Priya, I Am Goddess, Just Be, Rowdy's Gaming Channel, interesting. Candy, Kathy, Vero, Medinify, Rajat, Star, Ka, Joyous Day, Miriam, Jackie. I got everybody. And everyone else that I haven't named. And Ria, Solitary Empath, we've got more people coming. But it's good to talk to all of you. I hope the message has hit home, and it'll just give you another touchstone to come back to over the next few weeks. And I'll be doing an update on my website with a few of the key dates that for some reason has just gone straight out of my mind. So do stay tuned. There'll be a notification come up with the article link. So take care, everyone. Many blessings. Drink lots of water, get sleep, eat healthy, and peace out. That is probably the best thing that you can do right now. Just peace out. Lots of love, and cha-cha for now. Bye-bye.